Hello, and thank you for joining us for our self paced version of collaboration and communication with Google Slides and Google Sites. I'm Amy Hooper, and I'll be starting off this training. Melissa Dilling will be doing the second portion with Google Sites, and we'll be using Google Slides for creating a landing page, and then we'll be showing you how to also use Google Sites as a way to collaborate with students, but also to communicate with either them or their parents and guardians as well. So our learning targets for this training is basically how to create landing pages for elementary and secondary students, how to use a landing page as a communications tool with parents and guardians as well. With these landing pages, how to insert a table, images, embedded links, and how to publish Google Slides, how to create a web page for class communication or shared learning space and shared calendar, and how to insert resources, change design, create pages, publish, and share a Google site. So, our opening reflection question is: what tools do you currently use to communicate with your students and their parents or guardians? So go ahead and share your thoughts in the response box that pops up in this Ed Puzzle training. You will need to answer the question in order to continue with the training and the video. All right, so we're going to be taking a look at two different types of landing pages for students. So you're going to be looking and kind of experiencing these tools like a student would. So I'm going to be giving you the links. We'll take a look at the landing pages, but I'll also provide the links in kind of the notes box that pops up in the Ed Puzzle, so you can click on them and look at them on your own as well. So go ahead and take a minute to explore them and think about, as you're exploring them, what part of these landing pages do you think would work for your own students, and what obstacles do you think that they would face while using these landing pages. So go ahead and just kind of respond to the answer, not in the chat box since it's not a live training, but in the response box in Ed Puzzle. Just let me know, what differences did you notice between the two? And you do need to respond to that question before you can move on with the training and with this video. All right, so I'm going to show you exactly how I created those two landing pages, but I do want to take a look first at our parent and guardian communication page. And before we do that, I'd like you to think about what kind of things would you include on a landing page that focuses more on parent and guardian communication. So in the response box that pops up, go ahead and just list a few things that you think would be important, and including for communication with parents and guardian. And when you think about a landing page, again, you can publish it, create that link, and it would be a link that you could send out at the beginning of the school year to your parents or guardians, or whenever the student joins your class. And I would recommend for students, I would recommend for parents and guardians to bookmark that link, and they could always go there. And no matter what changes you made to that slide, and I'll show you how to create the slide in just a bit, no matter what changes, it would always update. And so whenever they clicked on it, they would always get the most recent version of it. So go ahead and just answer that question of things that you would want to include on a landing page for parents or guardians, things that you would think would be important as reminders or links to other forms of communication. All right, so now I'm going to give you a chance to kind of explore my version of a parent guardian communication page. I know when I did the live training, a lot of people said email was number one. I took it from my approach of, if I was going to be in the classroom this current school year, I would have been teaching a few different courses, but most likely world geography and psychology. So I included, like, if I had those two classes going during one semester, they could be able to access those assignments, my class calendar, and then also links to some maybe things that are maybe more challenging to find with our school website, our school district website. And then also a kind of a form that I thought of to create for planned absences for students as well. So I'm going to go ahead and give you this link. So open So you just click on it in the little box that pops up in Edpuzzle, and you can go ahead, and all my images are embedded, so it'll take you to something. So you can send an email, and in just a moment, I'm going to walk you through how I did all this. So go ahead, pause the video if you like, and explore the parent-guardian communication page. So if you haven't done so already, I want you to go to your Waffle. So you can get to your Waffle either through your Gmail account or through your calendar, or through even your Drive. So we're going to look for in our Google Apps. We're going to go to Google Slides, and we're going to click on that. So just kind of follow my voice for right now, because I know it's kind of difficult to watch the video. Um, So you can even pause if you need to. But again, you're going to go to either Gmail, Calendar, Google Drive, click on the waffle where the Google apps are, come down and just open up a blank Google Slides. Now, if it pops up where it says click to add title, click to add subtitle, what we're going to do is we are going to go up to slide, and we're going to go up to we're going to go to slide, and we're going to go up to apply layout. Now, if you go into layout, apply layout, you're going to find that there's one that says blank. So just change your slide to blank. All right. All right. Now, what I suggest doing, you don't have to do it, but I like using a table. Now, you'll notice for my elementary one, I used a 2x2. So very simple. You can choose to do that if you want to start off very simple. And the reason why I had you list things for your parent guardian, if you want to start with parent guardian, think about the things you listed in that question. And if you want to think for a moment again about those things you listed, think about how many things you listed there that you would include on that landing page. We could start there. If you have some other thoughts in mind, if you want to go with creating a student one right now, you can do that as well. So I did just like my AM activities. If you know that for your students, you could do that. I went for the week long for my secondary. If you are secondary and that's kind of the way you want to go, you could do that. For my parents, I went more with a 3-column chart, 3-column table rather, for my secondary, and obviously all 5 days of the week. For my parents, I went with a 4 across, and so 4 across and just two rows, and 4 columns. Okay. So I provide a little bit more information, but again, kind of like with elementary, more images and just kind of more to the point, but a little bit more text as well. So a little combination. So you kind of decide what you want to do. So, but for this training purpose, I'm going to, so we can call the presentation, whatever you want to call it, so landing page. So again, remember either Gmail, Calendar, Drive, find your Waffle, your Google Apps, go to Google Slides, create a new slide, under slide, apply layout, go to blank. Now you have just a blank Google slide. You can call it your landing page, whichever one you want to call it. And now we're going to insert a table. For this training purpose, I'm just going to do a 2x2. All right, when we have the little arrow here, we can drag it up to resize it. When we have another arrow here, we can drag it down to resize it. And then if you want to, we're going to kind of go through how we embed with text, okay? So how we use text to link to maybe an outside site or even email, for example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a text box. So I'm going to click text box. I'm going to click here. And you can title it whatever you want to. And we're just going to say parent guardian landing page. I'm going to say connect to MSD 25 site. So maybe if I wanted to direct my parents to easily get to the Marysville School District website, I could do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight. So when we highlight, we can then use that text to embed a link to an outside website. Now there's 3 ways to embed a link. We could simply come up here and click here, insert link. It also shows my shortcut Command K. We can go over here to insert, drop down to link. Again, my shortcut Command K. So what I just do, again, highlight the text I want, and I just hit Command K. Now, when you connect something, it's going to remember if you've done it from before, which I have. So I'm just going to, you can type in up here what you want to search, msd25.org. If you noticed before, it also brought up a few other options. I can connect to other slides that I've created. I can connect, if I had multiple slides within the slideshow, I could connect to those. And I can also connect to other documents and other things within my Google Drive. But again, I'm going to connect to the Marysville School District website. And I'm just going to say msd25.org. And so now when they click here, it'll take them to the Marysville School District website. All right. So 3 things that I want you to do is to go make sure you have your blank slide up. Start with a table. Put in a title for your slide and embed a link of choice into part of that title or some other words on the slide. You can go ahead and pause the video and then come back, and we're going to walk through how to do images with embedded links and some more text. All right. So we're going to continue on with this parent guardian landing page. Like I said before, emails seem to be the most important. As I said before, you can link to an outside website. You can link to documents within your Google Drive. You could link to all kinds of different things. You can even link to your own email. So let's go ahead and try that. So there's going to be a couple different ways we can insert images. We can come up to insert, which is a lot of ways you insert things. That's the name. We can go to image. So kind of a likely place to find images. We can upload from our computer if we have an image there. We can search the web, which is a great place to find images. We can pull them from our Google Drive. There's also like a collection of photos within Drive and our Mac as well. We could, if we had a URL from the web, we could just go off of that. We could also use the camera on our computer. I'm going to show you a thing that I really like to use. It's not within here. It is nestled at the bottom right-hand corner. It's available on Slides. It's available on Google Docs. It's available on Google Sheets. I believe that's the only places it's available with Google. But it's available those 3 places. So we're going to click on Explore. And it's going to open up this little panel in the right side. Now all I have to do is come up to my little search bar, and I'm going to type in email, and I'm going to type in icon. Oops, it always does this to me. Email, sorry. There we go. and it's going to give me 3 different options. I can look on the web, I could just go to images, and I can go to Drive. Now I'm going to click on images. All these images are free to use. And I'm going to find one. I can scroll down and I can find one that I like. Let's see. Maybe because it looks like ones that are on the phone. And actually, as I was doing these trainings, somebody mentioned that the landing page kind of reminded them of like the similar setup to people's phones. So it might be something that parents and students might be a little bit more familiar with because it's something they use every day. So just something to think about as you're creating a landing page. All right, so I'm inserting my image. As you see here, when the blue is around the image, that means it's selected. That means it gives you the opportunity. When there's the 4 arrows, that means that you can click on it to move it around. We can also use the 1 arrows to resize it in the different from the different boxes, each corner and on the sides. But you'll also notice when it's selected, it gives us the link where the image was found from. Now, when I want to embed a link in it, I'm going to want to remove the link that's already there. So I'm going to go ahead and click over here where it says remove link. Now I can add my own link to it. So again, while it's selected, I'm going to hit Command K. Again, we have that pop up, and I'm going to type in my email. Of course, you would want to type in your own. msvl.k12.wa.us. All right, my email, and I'm going to hit apply. That way, when people click on the email, it'll automatically open up a Gmail to send out to me. All right, now the other thing is we can give them a little directions in case we think they might be confused. Let's go ahead and add a text box. So click on the image. If you want to, you can move things. We can change font. We can make it a little bit more legible though if we want. All right. So go back to your landing page that hopefully you're working on. You should have everything so far. Go back and add an image that you want. Embed a link to it. So maybe your email or something else, and add some text to it. And then come back and we're going to talk about publishing and share settings as well. All right. So let's talk a little bit about share settings. Now, if I want to share something with parents or guardians, I'm going to come up here to share. Right now, this is only shared with me. So let's click on my share settings. So as it says here, it's restricted. I can share it with Marysville School District only. That would be good if I want to share this with my students. If this is something for parents or guardians, you're going to want to make sure that you click under here and you go down to anyone with the link. Okay. Now, this is really important if you have certain documents, like let's go to my parent guardian one. So things like my Google form here that I have set up for student absences, I want to make sure that anyone with the link can access that form, not just people within the Marysville School District. Okay, these links go out to the Marysville School District website. So that's okay. I don't have to worry about things. But anything I've created, such as a Google form, then I need to kind of worry about those things. But if it's a website, you don't really need to. All right, so make sure anything that you've created has the right share settings, whether it needs to, if it's shared with parents, it has to be public and open to anyone. If it's just with your students, it just needs to be shared within the Marysville School District domain. Now, let's pretend we finished our page and it's ready to be published. So we're going to come over here to File, and we're going to click Publish to the Web. And now we're going to click Publish. This is really important too if you want to add this link to your Clever page for your students to easily get to use it like a website, so they just click on the images, especially at the elementary school level. Okay, so we're going to hit Publish. We're going to hit OK. Now this is the link that you're going to want to copy. So we're going to use Command C, like it says, press Command C to copy. And then that's the link. I'm just going to paste it here so you would see it. This is the link that I would want to paste into my Clever. So if you're in elementary, I'm just going to show you this real quick. All right, so if you're using Clever, this is what I would do. So this is my teacher page. I would go to Add. I would go to Link. I would choose what I would want for my icon. I would paste my link here. And I'm just going to type landing page. And then we're going to put add link. Now when my students come to my Clever teacher page, all they have to do is click on landing page or click on pencil, and it would take them to that landing page. So that's one idea. The other idea is that you could just send the link out, force the link out to students through GoGuardian. That would work at the secondary level. So that's something to think about. You could post the link in your Google Classroom. So maybe we have some ideas. So this link could be used in Clever button. It could be a forced link, or forced tab, rather, forced tab on GoGuardian. Posted in Google Classroom. It could be emailed out. It can be, that link can be embedded into another Google slide or anything else. So there's all kinds of different ways that we can get this link. And again, it could be just simply, as I said, embedded. So we could take that link, we can highlight again, we can hit Command K, we can paste that link, we can hit apply. And now this long link, we don't need to actually, have it typed all out or typed all out, but it's embedded in that short word. And now people can still access. And this is what my published version of this landing page would look like live. And any changes you make would show up. All right, so you should have at least a kind of a sample landing page of your own kind of started now. Hopefully you can continue on to create one if you want to. We've got you started, so you should have at least a table inserted. You should have one link embedded into text. You should have one link embedded into an image. So you should have at least one image on your own landing page. And so you can take some time to maybe continue building your own landing page. And in the next portion of this training, Melissa's going to show you the ins and outs of Google Sites.
Now that you have learned how to create a landing page using Google Slides, we're now going to move on to Google Sites. Google Sites is part of your Google suite of tools that you have. And Google Sites is a great way to build a really quick and easy website for parents and families for communication. Your students can have the ability to do this with you as well if you're thinking, oh, that would make a good project. But make sure you reach out to instructional technology so we can discuss how best you could have students do this in a safe manner. But we're going to go ahead and move on to this website. And I'm going to just show it to you on your screen rather than have you go there. But Google Sites can make some pretty great web pages. So here's one example of a web page made with Google Sites. Now notice that you can have large pictures in the background, you can have buttons, you can have pages. So Google Sites does look like something that maybe a professional web designer might make. These are, of course, of just the landing pages, but here's an example with a little more text on it, where people are using this for their actual businesses. So us using this is just maybe one way to get in touch with parents and families in a way to kind of present ourselves professionally. Here's a great example of a Google site that's used in a medical practice. And notice again, here I have book an appointment. I have all kinds of pages, information, and clickables. So Google Sites itself, I'm going to show you where it lives, and then I'm going to ask you to pause this video and go and open a Google site as well, and that'll get you ready for our next activity. So from any Google page that you're on, so let's say your Google Drive, to open the Google Sites, it's not as obvious as it should be. So I'm going to come over here to the New button, and I'm going to press New. And then notice in my list of items here, I have docs, sheets, slides, and forms. And I don't see anything that says Google Sites because it's actually hiding under the More button. In fact, if you've never seen the More button, there are quite a few tools underneath there, as well as you can add kind of quick links to things. So you can slide over, and it should be third down, drawings, maps, and sites. It should be right there, and that will open it for you. So that's one way to get a Google site open. The other way is from your waffle. You may have to scroll down a bit. Google Sites, it doesn't say Google Sites, it just says Sites. And that is one way to get it open as well. But you can also type sites.new up in your address bar, and Google recognizes that you want to start a new Google site. So if you type sites.new and hit enter, it's going to automatically go to your Google Drive. It knows who you are, and it's going to open a blank page. So if you don't mind, go ahead and pause this video and get to this step, and then come on back and join us, and we're going to do some work with creating that Google site. Welcome back. I'm going to show you 4 different things on the screen, and then I'm going to ask that you pause this video and try it for yourself so that by the end of this you have kind of a basic landing page. So let me give you a little tour quickly though of Google Sites so you know what it's all about. First and foremost, we are in the editor phase. So nothing will happen, nothing is online until we hit this publish button up here. So just know that when you're here in Google Sites and it looks like this with all the buttons, that you're free to edit and it's not updating live to anywhere on the web. For me, I always like to name my site first right here where it's gray. That's also going to name the file so you can find it later, but always name it right here where it's gray. And I'm just going to call mine test site. You can call yours your room number, your home page. You can use your last name, whatever you're comfortable with. And notice once I type here and I click, it also gives the name for the file name so I could find it later in my Google Drive. The next thing I'd like you to do is think about a title. Notice when I click here on title, this is movable. I can grab and stretch if I need to. I can change the type of heading. I can change the font if I like. I can also bold, italicize, and change the text color if I so choose. Selecting it first, of course, yields better options. I can make my title clickable by inserting a link to a website. And then, of course, I have a couple more options here, just some formatting. So for the sake of my site, I'm just going to call it, say, welcome. But if you know what you'd want to put on your homepage for families or students, feel free to do that. And just know that you can also, once you have any item on Google Sites, if you get the double arrow, so I usually click somewhere near these little gray dots that appear. A double arrow means I can pick up and move it. and place it. I don't have total control in Google Sites. It's kind of looking for one of these boxes or frames to put in, but I can move it. All right, so step 1 was to name. Step 2 was a title, and then maybe placement or changing formatting. I also have the ability to change how this banner looks. So I can make it large, I can make it the banner only, I can make it bigger, or I could just make it a title. So you could play with that button as well. I'll move back to kind of the normal default. And if I want to change the picture or what's in the background, that's actually this button right here, change image. So I can upload my own custom image, or I can select from some pre-designed ideas that Google has. The gallery just contains some that have a nice high resolution. So they're gonna view really nicely on your page. But of course you could search, or you could go to your Google Drive as well. But just for the sake of time, I'll go ahead and just choose one that's here, maybe the keyboard, and say select. Now you see this little star down here doing some interesting things. It is checking for how readable is this, and it made some changes to that image. So because it thought that it might be easier to read. If you don't like those, you can click on the star and it'll change back to kind of more like what your image was in the past. So go ahead and take a moment and play with those 3 items, and then come on back here and we'll do a little bit more work with your Google site. All right, as the website says, welcome back. Hopefully you had a chance to play with that banner, header, and images. Now this next piece I'm going to show you quite a few things, and then I'm going to give you some time to work on it. So if at any point in time you want to pause this video and work on your site as you go, you can do that. If not, you can watch it all the way through and then pause and see about your site itself. So Google Sites is built on kind of the idea of frames, where we're going to be adding objects and items down here below. And they do like to put the things at the top that you might add the most. So you notice we're on the insert section, and it is asking if I want to insert a text box, images. An embed code is like if you had actual code, HTML or something that would make your like an image appear. I don't use that one all that often. I usually add a text box and pictures, but I can also insert objects from my Google Drive. Okay, so those are just common buttons. That's the only reason that they are up at the top. Now, if I scroll down, I have what's called layouts. So Google Sites has said, hey, we know that most people are going to add some pictures. So that's what these little mountains are. They probably have a title, or what we call a header. So that's what these dark lines are. And then underneath a header could be text or writing. So I could add them one at a time. So watch what happens if I click text box. Now I have a text box, and I can resize it. I can move it around. I can place it where I want. I don't have total control, but I have enough that I could customize. But if you're just starting out with a Google site, one of these options might be a little better. So let's say I have a welcome page and I have 3 items I want to put on underneath there. If I add a layout button, notice I can put text in here, right? So whatever your ideas are. And it will come in as a header. I can still adjust font size, color, and just like I did on the title itself. But then my text here could go down below, and I could give the details about that. If I could spell right, that would be helpful, right? So again, notice it's smaller, and that's because Google is just saying, hey, I'm sure you would like a header, and then you probably want something a little smaller. Now, these plus buttons are what we call placeholders. So there's a couple different items you can put in there. So if I hit the plus button, notice I have lots of options here. Okay, I can upload an item, I can select an image, I can look at an image on my drive, I can either put in a YouTube video, a calendar, or a map if I wanted to. Okay, so I'm just going to upload a picture that maybe I have on my screen here. And I'm just going to go ahead. This is just a screenshot I took earlier, so don't worry about what it is actually there. But there's a picture there. I could crop it if I wanted to. I could make that picture link to somewhere else. I can remove it, and I can also replace it. All right, so that's kind of nice. I do have the ability to resize it if I'm not super happy with where it ended up. Okay, so I can resize it, but sometimes when you use those pre-formatted layouts, it's easier to kind of just use the size they have because they fit nice and perfect. So I can also select an image. So just like I could upload, I can do a Google search, and it's gonna allow me to search for something that matches whatever my website is about, and then it will put that image in for me. So that can be a nice quick way to do that. And then again, I just want to point out that a lot of times maybe you'll have a video, maybe you want to search for a video that you would like kids to watch. Shorter videos obviously will load faster for students, but maybe there's a quick video tutorial and I would like them to watch that as well. Okay, so that's the basics of layouts. I'm going to scroll down just a little farther. Now, we have all kinds of things that we can add besides just text, images, and videos. So remember we talked about that placeholder button with the plus sign. If I think that I want something on there and I'm not sure what yet, but I want to make a place for it, I can add a placeholder and resize it however large I want. So again, maybe I want a big picture or a big video later on. I can also add something from my drive. So if I click on Google Docs, mine's going to take just a second to load. I'm just going to go ahead and add the first thing, excuse me, the first thing I see for the sake of ease. And notice, because I made that big placeholder, it almost assumed I wanted this to be big as well. Again, things can be resized and moved around. The only caution that I want to make is that if you add an item from your Google Drive, you may want to double check that it is shareable. So I just clicked on that little arrow in the top right corner, and any item from your drive, look, this one's locked, you would want to make it viewable by students if they click on it. That way you won't get an error message when you make the website. Okay, so again, inserting so many fun things. I'm not going to show them all. I'm hoping you take a moment and play with them. But we can get things from our drive. We can make giant placeholders to hold places that can then add other items later. We can also use layouts to insert something that is kind of pre-formatted to fit Google Sites. So go ahead and pause for a moment there. I'd like you to play with those insert buttons, see what you can find, and then we'll come back and talk a little more about color formatting, how to make pages, and then also how to publish. Okay, welcome back. Again, as the website says, welcome, welcome. I hope you had a chance to explore your insert buttons here just a little bit, and that you were able to see you can do anything from YouTube to actually inserting a calendar that's linked directly to your own calendars that you might have. So if you have a calendar for parents, let's say, and you put events on there or homework, even if you're not using something like Google Classroom, you can embed those links right here. So the calendar one I did want to show you, because if you haven't played with that, that is amazing. When I click calendar, it's talking directly to my calendar. And let's just, for example, say our training calendar, we use that in our trainings. I want that to be viewable on my website, and I want it to update live, and I want people to be able to view all of those trainings that are on there. I have all kinds of ways I can make this calendar show up, and that's under settings. So right now it's just under an agenda view. It's like a list, but I could make it by week or by month. And if I add things to the training calendar on my own personal calendar, they will automatically update to the calendar once it's published. And again, I can stretch it. So that's kind of just a really fun thing for parents if you're sending out lots of reminders for photo day or PE or whatever you might need. The other thing you might not have noticed is that next to every one of these kind of rows, I do have this palette where I can put images behind. I can also put colors behind, and usually it's kind of deciding for me what might look nice. But you can play with that here with this little icon. And themes is another place where you'll be able to have some ability to adjust those items. So if my theme was purple, notice the theme changes here as well. And of course, I have all kinds of different just looks and feels to the whole website that can be done with themes. I usually add a few things before I choose a theme just so I can kind of see how it looks, and then I change it on the fly. Now, if you want more than a landing page, you're always given a home page to start with. Okay, that's just this first page here. It'll be a single page website. But if I hit the plus button, I could type in homework or resources or whatever you think you might need. It automatically makes a page for me. It automatically takes me to that page. And I have an insert button now where I could, of course, insert whatever I wanted for my students. To get back and forth to work on them, I simply just click on them just like they were live on the web. Okay, so super simple to add extra pages. Don't feel like you need to do that right away if you're not ready. Now, how do I share this with the public? How do I make it go live? Well, that's where my publish button comes in here. So when I feel like I'm ready to put it out for the world to see, I simply hit publish. It is going to take the name of my website and put it in part of a website address. So I called mine test site. Down below here, you might even want to copy it while you're on this site or on this pop-up window. That's what I usually do, just so I have it all ready to go if I want to send it out to families. Okay, so I can copy it from here. And notice here it says anyone in the Marysville School District can view. Don't forget to change that to all families. So my draft is restricted, so only people who are working on it, meaning me. My published site, I probably want to say public if I'm going to be working with families out in the community so they can see it as well. And then I just hit publish. It's going to think for a moment. All right. And then you'll know that it's up live because you have a little arrow. And if I want to go view it at any time, I can go here. Now, just remember, if I'm making changes to my website, I do have to publish every time I'm ready to put up my changes. So not every change, but let's say I go make 10 changes to my website and I feel happy about it. Don't forget to continue to hit this publish button so that you can send them up to the web. Otherwise, they'll just stay where they are. So you notice up at the top here, that's that web address. And I have two functional pages here that will go back and forth. And I always like to go and try all my links, make sure I shared everything the correct way, make sure everything open and it's viewable. Notice my calendar takes a second to load. Here's that form. As long as you can see them, it should be fine. But again, you might always want to test it with like one student or one parent and just make sure everything is unlocked and viewable. So my advice for you today is if you have time and this looks like something fun and interesting to you, go give it a try. Maybe start with a real simple landing page, some simple information that would help your families, and see if you can't create a Google site. When you're done with that, I'm going to roll to the end here. We do have these resources that we will be sharing with you. But again, I just wanted to give you some tips that a nice eye-catching banner, a few descriptions and images, maybe a calendar or some additional pages. Those are really the simple basics that you would need to get started with a classroom website. Now, at the end of this training, you will see a pop-up box. You do have to wait until I'm done talking and then it should pop up, so continue watching the video. But we'll go ahead and have a pop-up box that pops up with your attendance as well as your evaluation for this course and our little tour of both Google Slides and Google Sites and how to make a landing page. Thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.